Excuse me. Hello there. I'm Scotty, and you're not, and we continue TV adaptation week with the Dukes of Hazzard. Now, the first three of these are going to be me kind of gushing over the original shows because I grew up with these. I grew up with the Dukes of Hazzard TV show. I have the complete series right here. All 7 seasons of the show. I also have the first 2 seasons and season 5 on the individual seasons somewhere. I wasn't going to dig them out, but they're in that closet, in that farmhouse. There. No, in that closet over there. The one next to the Batman. It's in that closet. That's where all my TV shows are that I don't have. And my complete series stuff is, the complete series packs, they're in that shelf down there. But, listen to this. So I was a pretty big fan. So when this came out, I didn't know what to think of it. Because I knew Sean William Scott from the American Pie movies. I at least seen the first 2. Actually, I think I saw American Wedding first. Was the first one I saw. But I think they came out in 2004. I think. It just came out the following year. And I didn't know who Johnny Knoxville was. I knew he was the jackass guy. That's about it. Everyone knows Jessica Simpson. And then Willie Nelson. Let's talk about the cast first and foremost. So, like when this came out, I was interested in it. Now, up to this point, I think I had only seen, this is the unrated cut, and I think I'd only seen the original cut. And I noticed some things I'll get to later, but some differences. So the cast. Sean William Scott as Bo. Johnny Knoxville as Luke. Look. I think they do fine for what they have. But their characters are kind of, they're not written right. Bo was the ladies' man. I mean, they were both ladies' men, but Bo was the one that would be seen with girls and stuff. Here it's Luke. Luke is the one that sneaks into the girl's house to have hanky-panky, where Bo was the one chasing after girls in the original. Here he's in love with the car, the General Lee. I don't know. And my big complaint when I first watched was they're not wearing their colors they're supposed to. Bo is supposed to wear yellow. Luke is supposed to wear blue. But they don't wear those colors. And it's a movie adaptation. I've gotten over that. I think they're fine with what they're given. Jessica Simpson is Daisy. You know, there was only one thing the producers were thinking when they hired her. 2 things they were looking at, 1 thing they were thinking. Yes, Catherine Bach was very attractive. But that's not all she was. And then while they make Daisy a strong, tough woman in this, at first, they only use her to distract cops, really. Like, she shows up once to distract the cops so that the boy in Atlanta, so that the boys can get out. Then she uses her looks again to get Enos to tell her where Uncle Jesse is. And then she tries to use it again on some other cops before a female cop tells her to fuck off. That's all they use her for after the initial, her standing up to Billy Prickett's manager. Speaking of Billy Prickett is a original character for the film. He's a race car driver and former Hazzard County resident, played by James Roday. James Roday Rodriguez. I keep trying to remember. He changed his name. I mean, that's his real last name, but he started using that as a stage name now, I guess. And when I first watched this movie, When I watched it the first time, I thought it was Chris Evans, and then I realized it wasn't him after a couple more views. But no, that's not. It says James Roday. Who's that? And Psych came along. Oh, Psych. Okay, this is before Psych. And he's an antagonist for Bo, but he also ends up being like a sort of side antagonist for Boss Hogg. If only Boss Hogg had a side character. Oh yeah, that's right. Roscoe, who's in the movie, played by MC Gainey, but like where he should be showing up for the final chase at the end of the film, he's sitting at a courthouse waiting for the clock to wind down so that they can sign a mining ordinance. Roscoe always chased the Dukes. Like the one thing that I like, there was good car chases and stuff in this, but one thing that was missing was the speed traps that Roscoe would set up in the show. Usually every episode started with some kind of speed trap chase. If one thing I could say that was good, it's the car chases in this. Car chases, the car stunts, all done very well. I'll say that was handled well. We got more casting though. Michael Weston, and no, this isn't Burn Notice. My actor Michael Weston, who was on an episode of Psych with James Roday, by the way. And they do have he plays Enos. There is one scene in which they had to go. He say, "Hey, you Enos?" No, it's Enos, Mr. Prickett. Oh, whoopsie. You know, they make that joke. But Enos isn't portrayed very well. They also have Cletus on here, and he's like one scene when go get him, Cletus. Yes, sir. That's it. That's it. You wouldn't know he's Cletus. You wouldn't even know he's Cletus if Roscoe didn't call him that. I'm just saying. On the show, Cletus was Boss Hogg's nephew. Enos, instead of being the sweet-hearted guy that he was in the show, he's got a mustache and he's very weird. There's even a scene where he smiles at the camera after Daisy comes in and she comes and she takes her jacket off and she's just in a bikini and gets him to tell her where Uncle Jesse is. Speaking of Uncle Jesse, and I'm going to defend this casting. Uncle Jesse is played by Willie Nelson. I think he does a good job. So much, in fact, that they got to come back for the prequel. But I think he does a pretty good job. And yes, they do make weed jokes in this. There's a couple of them. Well, not in the unrated cut. There's only one, and it's really weird for the unrated cut. The weed jokes are cut down. There's 2 weed jokes in the theatrical cut, but those are both cut for one small one at the end. We'll get to the 3 differences that I spotted. But yeah, I think he does a good job. Now let's talk about the big elephant in the room, and that's Burt Reynolds as Boss Hogg. I think this was a big miscast. Not that Burt Reynolds doesn't have the acting chops, but Boss Hogg was a short, fat, balding man who was as gluttonous as he was stupid. In every scene, he was seen eating something. And in this movie, there is one scene in which he is cooking crawdads. And that's it. The only food scene for Boss Hogg. That's it. Not to say he doesn't do a decent job of portraying an evil tycoon type character. He does, but it's not Boss Hogg. Also, the boar's nest that was like in almost every episode of the show is only at the beginning of this. We don't see it again. And they don't have the placement right. I know this is a bit of a nitpick, but on the show, Cooter's garage was right across the street from the boar's nest. Here, it's all the way across town, ? And let's talk about Cooter. So Cooter on the show was like the third Duke boy. He was there, he helped them out with every situation that they were in, and he was there for the boys. Here, he helps them out at the beginning, disappears till the very end of the movie. And why? So that the director of this film, who also directed Super Troopers, can have his friend, Kevin Heffernan, playing a completely different character named Sheev, be the one that helps the Duke boys. So, my question is, why couldn't you just have Kevin Heffernan play Cooter? Because after they steal the safe from Boss Hogg, they go to Sheev to find a way to open it. Now, if this was the show, they go to Cooter. So why wouldn't they go to Cooter? There's nothing wrong with I gotta think of his name. David Koechner. Nothing wrong with David Koechner playing Cooter, but he's not used enough. Cooter should have been the one helping him, not original character made up. So your buddy can be in the movie. It's just, I mean, I don't hate Sheev, but he wasn't necessary. He could have been Cooter, and David Koechner could have had a cameo. David Koechner, here. Here's what you should have done. Because I think it would have worked better. Have Kevin Heffernan be Cooter, and make David Koechner Roscoe. Because I think MC Gainey as Roscoe is too damn serious in this movie. He comes across too serious, too threatening. The Dukes were never threatened by Roscoe. At least they never felt threatened by Roscoe. Roscoe was like, no. Points for having the dog in there, though. Flash. Lulu Hogg is not in the movie, but she's in the prequel. I don't know. I think some things were done better in the prequel, and when I eventually review that, we'll talk about it, because I don't know. I think that one, some things were done a little bit better. But, yeah. And another thing, the boys used bow and arrows in the movie, which they did in the show, but the reason they did that is because they were on probation. So they couldn't leave Hazzard, they couldn't use bow and arrow, they couldn't use guns or anything, they had to use bow and arrows, they had to stay within the town. It kept it confined, it kept the budget kind of cheap. There were times the stuff went to Atlanta, but it wasn't, But there was none of that. And I thought, when I first watched this, I thought, well, maybe that's the end. And maybe that's what should have happened. See, at the end, okay, so the big story of this movie is that Boss Hogg is going to mine Hazzard. But they have to hold a court hearing to see if anyone objects. So Boss is going to use the Hazzard rally and Billy Prickett to distract the town until the time is up so that they can just go ahead and sign the ordinance and mine the town. Bo and Luke figure out what's going on. Well, sort of. They steal the Boss Hogg safe, and they have Sheev help them open it, and they find core samples. They take the core samples to Atlanta to one of Bo's ex-girlfriends, or they weren't even really together to begin with. Someone, I guess she and Luke used to fool around. I don't know. Katie Lynn Johnson. And, okay, so we'll get to it. And they go to see this guy named Royce, who is another one from Super Troopers. Because you gotta get your friends in there, right, director? I've never seen Super Troopers, but I've looked things up before. But anyway, so Royce tells them that it's coal. So eventually, making it back to Hazzard, they realize that Boss Hogg has Uncle Jesse, but they are arrested and held in jail, and they just so happen to be transferred, and then they're rescued by Daisy flaunting her assets, and then they get away, head back to town, and But when they're in jail, Boss Hog just shows up out of the blue and tells them his plan. He's like, "Go, come on. What were you gonna? How are you gonna get away with it?" He's like, "You ever heard of sleight of hand? Huh? When someone's doing something over here, something else happened over here. Oh, you're gonna use the rally as a distraction. Well, you swoop in. That right? Why does he tell him his plan? I don't know, because now the Duke boys know they're gonna try to stop him. But boss, you wouldn't have to. Then suddenly you try to put these roadblocks. But boss, you wouldn't have to put the roadblocks in if you didn't tell them your freaking plan. They would just. I don't know. Uncle Jesse is at their farm because Boss Hog wants them to go there. The boys show up and distract him, and then Cooter, who finally does something in the movie, and Daisy, despite the fact that she was just in Atlanta helping them distract the Caps, and then she was distracting Inez. How much mileage does her Jeep get? Which we never see in the movie, by the way. Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. We see her Jeep. Never mind. Could have used an origin for that. Because she had a yellow car beforehand before she got her Jeep. The Dixie. But anyway, eventually, Bo enters the race, beating Billy Prickett by him. Just right there, beating Billy Prickett. And then they all follow him to the courthouse, where they find out the truth, and the court is dismissed. Now, Jessica Simpson, or Daisy, talks to the mayor, played by Joe Don Baker, or the governor, the governor, played by Joe Don Baker, to giving them pardons. Now, what should have happened here is the governor should be like, well, I can't give them full pardons, but I'll tell you what I'll do. You boys are on probation, and you can't leave town, which would have made it more like the show. They don't do that. They just get full pardons, including Uncle Jesse, who gets pardoned for hitting Boss Hog, despite the fact that he'd already done it earlier in the film, which I think was the deleted scene put in for the unrated edition. But they all have a little party. Now, some differences. I know there's 3 differences between the theatrical and the unrated edition. The first one comes when Bo is talking about the Duke, about when they first get the general back, and he goes, "Well, I never want to leave this car. I want to sleep in it. I want to live in it. I want to live in it. I want to eat in it. I want to have sex with it. I want to sleep in it. I want to eat in it. I want to live in it, and I want to make love. I'm gonna make sweet love to it." And Luke goes, "Oh, you mean you want to make sweet love in it?" And in the theatrical version, he says, "No, I want to have sex with it." And the unrated edition, no, he goes, "No, I want to fuck it." Because it's unrated, you see. What are the other 2? I know the last one. There was another one. Oh, when Bo and Luke are looking for Katie, they go in a room. In the theatrical edition, it's full of women smoking pot. In the unrated edition, they're just naked. They're just topless. That's one weed reference taken out of the film, which I find it weird that the weed one was in the theatrical edition. I mean, nudity couldn't be in it, because the theatrical edition was PG-13, and they could do weed. And at the end, when Pauline, who's not another original character, I don't know, didn't they have a female, older female? I don't know. Pauline, I don't remember her from the show, but Pauline goes to look for Uncle Jesse so he can sing a song, because it's Willie Nelson, you see. In the theatrical edition, they're in like a smokehouse, and he's in there smoking weed with Mayor Applewhite. In the unrated edition, for some reason, they have I think it's a joint in an apple, and they take a bite, and they get the smoke that way. I don't know. I've never heard of that, but I like the other one better. It was funny to see the Mayor Applewhite? Governor Applewhite? Whatever, I don't know. The governor, not the mayor, the governor. We get two different versions. The soundtrack in this film is fantastic. It fits well with the chase sequences. I think it's very good. We get two versions of the theme song. One at the beginning, when the title card pops up, the original version by Waylon Jennings, and then the one at the end, sung by Willie Nelson, which I think is fitting because Willie Nelson and Waylon Jennings, they were good friends when Waylon was alive. The Balladeer, I don't know who did the voice of the Balladeer, but he was all right. If you don't know, Balladeer was the narrator of the show. It was Waylon Jennings, basically. And he does a good job, whoever it was. Overall, I'm going to say that this movie, I'm going to say it's pretty good. I enjoy it. I enjoyed it from beginning to end. I was with it, right? So, here you go. Next up is going to be the Flintstones. But what are your thoughts on the Dukes of Hazzard? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I've been Scotty. I'll see you in the next one.